Wednesday, October 16. Reappearing themes: belief, unbelief. Read John chapter 3, verses 16 to 21, chapter 9, verses 35 to 41, and chapter 12, verses 36 to 46. How do the texts repeat the theme of belief, unbelief, found in the prologue? First of all, we read John chapter 3, beginning at verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because they have not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light, because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what they have done has been done in the sight of God. And chapter 9, beginning at verse 35. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out. When he found him, he said, Do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? The man asked. Tell me, so that I may believe in him. Jesus said, You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you. Then the man said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. Jesus said, For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind. Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this, and asked, What? Are we blind too? Jesus said, If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. And chapter 12, beginning at verse 36. Believe in the light while you have the light, so that you may become children of light. When he had finished speaking, Jesus left and hid himself from them. Even after Jesus had performed so many signs in their presence, they still would not believe in him. This was to fulfill the word of Isaiah the prophet. Lord, who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For this reason they could not believe, because, as Isaiah says elsewhere, he has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, so that they can neither see with their eyes, nor understand with their hearts, nor turn, and I would heal them. Isaiah said this because he saw Jesus' glory and spoke about him. Yet, at the same time, many, even among the leaders, believed in him. But because of Pharisees, they would not openly acknowledge their faith for fear that they would be put out of the synagogue, for they loved human praise more than praise from God. Then Jesus cried out, Whoever believes in me does not believe in me only, but in the one who sent me. The one who looks at me is seeing the one who sent me. I have come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. In John's Gospel, humanity seems to be divided into two overarching groups: those who believe in Jesus and accept him as the Messiah, and those who, having the opportunity to believe, choose not to. 11 of the disciples are in the first group, as are others such as Nicodemus, who comes to faith slowly, the woman at the well, and the man born blind. In the second group are Pharisees and high priests, people at the miracle of feeding the 5,000, and even one of the disciples, Judas. It is interesting that the noun pistis, P-I-S-T-I-S, Greek for faith or belief, never appears in the Gospel of John. However, the verb pisteo, P-I-S-T-E-U-O, believe, appears 98 times, compared to 241 times total in the entire New Testament. This verb is indeed a very big theme in John. This use of the verb instead of the noun may point to a very active sense of becoming a Christian. Being a believer in Jesus is something that we do, and this is expressed in how we live and not just in a set of beliefs. As we know, the devil believes in Jesus as well, as we read in James 2:19. You believe that there is one God? Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. In John, the major difference between the two groups is the way that they relate to Jesus. Believers, or those who come to believe, have an openness toward him, even when he confronts or rebukes them. They come to Jesus and do not run away. He is the light that shines on them, and by faith, by believing, they become the children of God. Unbelievers, on the other hand, typically come to Jesus to fight with him. They are characterized by those who love darkness rather than light. They find his sayings hard to accept, or they see him breaking old traditions and not fulfilling their expectations. They stand in judgment on him rather than letting his light measure and judge them. This attitude, of course, has been seen again and again in the religious leaders who, ideally, as the spiritual guides of the nation, should have been the first ones to have accepted Jesus. And so to finish today, in what ways do you live out your faith in Jesus as opposed to merely holding an intellectual assent to him as the Messiah? Why is it important to know the difference? Let's look at Matthew 7:21-23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.